need to apologize for our late start, but our video crew was running a little bit late, and in our vein to make sure that we are transparent and record all these public meetings, we decided to hold back till we were ready. So thank you all for joining tonight. We'll just take a quick moment of silence so everyone gather their thoughts. And with that, we'll move to a roll call. Wendy Fields?
Here.
Trustee Wagner?
Here.
Trustee Reister?
Here.
Trustee Olson?
Here.
And President Pro Tem Keller?
Here.
And President Frisbee here. So we have missing one trustee tonight. He's out with his family on vacation, so I hope he enjoys himself. We have agenda in front of us, and I want to make one change to the agenda. Item 6, the scheduled appearances. We're going to have Ms. Kim Mayer with Gilbert and Ivy speak to us tonight. Was there any other changes?
Yes, we would add under 11B, probably Roman numeral 3A will be 101, 226, a municipal building department within the budget. So,
Anything by any of the trustees? Only hearing none, we have an agenda in front of us. What's the council's desire?
Move as amended. Support.
All right, so will all those in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have an agenda in front of us. Thank you all. Tonight we have Miss Kim Mayer with Gilbert and Ivy.
So where do we come from? Right up here at the podium. Okay. Wonderful.
Kim, can you click that button too that's down below, and then we'll pick it up on YouTube. Thanks.
Now, we're good? Okay. My name is Kim Mayer. I'm the owner of Gilbert and Ivy. With me tonight.
I'm Relena Akins. I'm a community resident that's volunteering with Gilbert and Ivy.
And with us also is Waldo. So we wanted to, at the invitation of our village manager, we were asked to make the council aware of an opportunity that we have fallen into. Last winter, Gilbert and Ivy and the village of Vicksburg was selected to be a Shop Local Where's Waldo destination. So we have worked together, Marlena and myself. We have spoken to many of the village businesses, and we have 26 that have decided to get on board as part of this effort. Beginning July 1st in 26 different locations within the village, there will be the small cardboard Waldos, and we will have these small cards, stamp cards, that are going to be available for people to encourage people to visit a number of different businesses within the community, to shop local, have fun, and win prizes. For the businesses that are not able to participate on the card, because we actually ran out of room on it, Waldo is going to be taking a jaunt around town periodically, and we're going to be listing mysteriously, where is he, and the first person to find it will find him will receive an award. The culmination of this is going to be on July 24th during Bird Days. It is our intention to have the Great Waldo celebration. We would like to encourage as many of the residents and visitors to Vicksburg to wear your red and white. If possible, dress like Waldo, wear a hat, wear a red and white striped shirt, and to join us during Bird Days at 7 p.m. We intend to do our grand prize raffle drawings. We have received some support from local businesses such as Vicksburg Optometry and Family Fair to provide cookies to the first 50 people who are participating. And our hope is that we are going to be able to procure a drone photo of the entire village with as many people dressed in red and white as possible. And Marlena's son and his friend from high school, they're both National Honor students, National Honor Society students at Vicksburg, are going to be dressing as Waldo and Linda and working around in the crowd. So with a drone photo, we're going to have a real life Where's Waldo photo of downtown Vicksburg. So we are here to spread the word. We would love to be included in any of the materials communication that is put out by the village. And if there is an opportunity for any additional support, we would be very, we would welcome that very much. But we wanted to present this to the trustees and just see if there were any questions.
Where do you buy one of those fancy sweaters?
So, Amazon.
That was a silly question.
Quickly, you stated you want to have the culmination at the birthday celebration next week, correct?
July 24th.
24th, okay, thank you.
Yep.
The other thing for the council to be aware of, we will be utilizing some downtown development funds to help with this venture, as well as be putting in front at next week's council meeting a press release on behalf of the village, as well as a resolution that we're recommending council support that will publicly announce the month of July is Where's Waldo in the village of Vicksburg. So you're aware of that.
And it is by Candlewood Press. So it was to them that we originally applied back in January. Honestly, we had no clue that we would get selected. We really didn't think we would. So when we got the announcement in late February that we had been selected, that's when we started working and building a strong to kind of turn this into a great family event, draw people into the village.
Absolutely. Sounds awesome. And they've heard of Vicksburg Planning Committee.
It's very exciting too that businesses, we have run out of room on the passport because so many of our local businesses want to be involved. So it's very exciting to have the support from the community as well, those businesses, and all of you.
Any other questions?
Just so the council's aware, Trustee Fields and Trustee Olson are up for manning the tent that day, so I think it'd be really great for them to be in costume, so.
Absolutely. Was there any doubt?
Well, I give you credit for seeking out this opportunity for your company and for the village. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks so much. Any other questions?
I'm just wondering, do you have somebody to take aerial photographs?
We are talking to a couple of people who have the opportunity to do drone photos, but we have not selected anyone, and we are still very much open to.
I have a name of somebody who has just done that for the library and did a beautiful job.
Okay, I would love to get that contact
Okay.
information.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll bring it tomorrow.
Great.
Do you need extra hands for things? I see on here like bag stuffers, or are you looking for volunteers to help with anything?
So for the most part, the event that will take place, the party, will be staffed by my team and Marlena and as many of her family as we can wrangle. Probably my husband will get roped into it also. So we have some volunteers, but at this point, we're still determining exactly what our needs are. And if there is a need for additional volunteers, we will absolutely reach out to different organizations, Rotary or National Honor Society or whoever. Thank you for asking.
Lions Club, don't forget them.
We
So,
also,
You selected the date as one of the Berg Days, and as a business owner, what has the Berg Days meant to you? We're going into our second year. Has it been a success in your mind, or just kind of like your idea of what it has meant to you?
well, thank you for asking. Absolutely. It has, it brings people who wouldn't normally come to Vicksburg. And those are the nights, honestly, that's when the residents kind of disappear from shopping, but all the other people come in. And we find that they love Vicksburg. They love the different businesses. They love getting to know the business owners, and they do come back. So it is drawing people from well outside the borders of the village and bringing them in. It's from a sales perspective. Last year, the Wednesday nights were by far our biggest days and nights from a retail sales perspective than we had any other time during the year, with the exception of like Christmas in the Village. So to have that boost every week is something that is very welcome to the retailers downtown.
Excellent, thanks. Thanks for being there.
Thank you for
Thanks being
asking.
part of the village.
Thank you. Anything else?
Anything else? Thanks.
We're
Thanks,
gonna
Jen.
take Waldo home, it's
Melinda,
after
thanks.
bedtime.
Thank you.
Go hide Waldo. How fun, all right, thank you. So I don't see that we have any public officials in the audience tonight. This is a time for citizens' comments for agenda items only, if someone would like to speak to the agenda. Seeing none, I just want to reemphasize, we have an opening in our planning commission and our DDA board, so we encourage that. We're looking to have the position filled on July 15th. So if you would please get your applications in before the 8th of July so we can put it on the agenda. But I encourage all that are listening to want to take part with the village. This is a good opportunity.
President Frisbee, where do they get the
From the,
application?
from the staff, and just pick it up here at the village hall. Is there other online option for that application as well? Yeah, it's on our village, vicksburgmi.org. Also, you can get it. Thanks for asking. So we have a general consent agenda in front of us, our minutes of our last council meeting, June 3rd, 2024, warrant reports, event requests, there was none, and no correspondence. And if anybody had an opportunity to review it, was there any corrections? All right, well, we have the general consent agenda in front of us. Entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Support?
I'll do a roll call, please. Trustee Fields?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Reeser?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
President Frisbee, yes. Thank you all for that. So we have some action items in front of us tonight. This is really, really great news. And Jim, I think I'll let you have the honors to.
Yes, President Frisbee, the first action item under 11A is related to, we submitted a grant to the state of Michigan in January, had tentatively received word that that would be approved. What the grant is, the mission of the grant is to identify the remaining lead line services throughout the village limits. We've used an approximate type figure, but to actually identify where those are, and then our steps after that will be a sequenced order to make sure that we replace under the state legislation those lead lines over the next, I think now we're down to about 17 years. We did receive a few weeks ago the official word that we received $600,000. So it's a non-matching grant fund. So we went out to bid to public bid for companies that would be able to, they call it potholing, but to identify where the lead line services are and give us that detailed report. 7 companies did bid on it. They were anywhere from $351,000 to the one we're recommending with plumbers at $166,357. This will be the first phase of this Eagle grant. Staff is recommending a motion for roll call vote to approve the village manager to sign a contract with Plumbers Environmental Services to identify the lead service lines within the village of Vicksburg in the amount of $166,357. Again, this is non-village money. It's 100% paid by the state of Michigan. Be happy to, after a motion, support.
President Frisbee, so moved.
Support.
All right, so now it's time for questions and answers. If anyone would like to.
Jim, you said this is phase 1.
Well, yes, and I would call the subsequent, once we identify the exact areas, then we can come up again keeping our radar open for funding sources and a strategic plan in a sequence order of how to get these lines replaced. And it'll be probably developed within the next couple CIP plans that come in front of the council during budget processes.
Okay. Well, where I'm going with that is the question I've got. The bids for 166 and change, the grants are 600,000. What is the remainder of that grant? What are we doing with that, I guess?
We're in lobbying effort with the state of Michigan at several different options from our viewpoint, and we're hoping that they agree to one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, and so we'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields,
Yes?
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee, yes. Motion carries, and it's just, I have to say, thank you, Jim. It's great, great news. And we'll move on to 11B.
11B is focused on the 24-25 fiscal year sections of the budget that will formally be presented June 24th, next Monday at 7 p.m. But as has been the past, for I think this is our 7th fiscal year in a row presentation, we'd like to divide the departments, answer any questions that the council might have, and also have a narrative that has instead of just placing a bunch of pages with dollar figures in front of you. But the first is, and I don't know, President Frisbee, I listed it to go through them all, but especially the first three, we can do it together or separate, whatever the council's desire is. But the administrative department, it has investments associated with the position of accounts payable, which is open, part-time customer service representative, which is Teresa's position. It also invests in payroll outsourcing, financial oversight, audit outsourcing, office supplies, copier, postage, investments, printing and publishing, computer service agreements, as well as training and membership opportunities for staff. The investment is $124,450. It's a 17% reduction to the general fund liability compared to the fiscal year we're currently in. It's mainly due to the elimination of the part-time accounts payable position. Credit for this goes to Michelle Morgan, the Director of Finance, and our village clerk, Christian Wines, as Christian is continuing handling those account payable responsibilities, is doing an excellent job. It also follows a 31% reduction from the fiscal year we're into the last one. We eliminated the community engagement director position, but I'll pause there if there's any questions on that.
I think we ought to do them individually, so
Okay.
if there's no questions, then entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? We'll do roll call, yes. Trustee Fields?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Reister?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
President Frisbee, yes. Motion carries.
Next on the list is the village clerk, the 215 department. Again, it's costs and investments associated with the village clerk position. We are, for the 24-25 fiscal year, would be at $29,300. And again, we've made the clerk a full-time position, plus we have the incentive for Christian at a 50% reimbursement up to $5,000 for him to obtain his master's degree that he is working on. And I have, again, for each of those positions, allocated the percent of the compensation and that of what fund pays for what. So as you can see, our general fund tax pays 25%, Angels Crossing 15, water and sewer 30 each.
Entertain a motion.
So moved?
Support.
We'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields?
Yes?
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
Trustee Reeser?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
And President Frisbee, yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Jim. The village treasurer.
Village Treasurer, 253 Department, again, the investment's $35,600. It's a 6% reduction over the 23-24 fiscal year, with about $2,500 is the total amount. Again, you can see the allocation, but this is all related to the general fund portion of that position.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion or questions? We'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields?
Yes?
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Reeser?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
And President Frisbee, yes. Motion carries. And you had 11,
This is
111A?
where we're adding just the 266 department that we added it at the start of the agenda. It has been in your packet. It's associated with utilities and maintenance at Village Hall and other properties owned by the Municipal Building Authority. We have seen a trend upward on utilities. The investment would be $31,450. It is an 11.1% increase from the current fiscal year, or in dollar numbers, $3,475. And it's specifically associated with the trend we're seeing in utilities for that.
So moved.
Support?
We'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields?
Yes?
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Reeser?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
President Frisbee, yes. And Parks and Police Department, 101-301.
Yes, the total investment for the police department, we're anticipating to be $775,600 to provide 24-hour a day, 7-day a week service to the citizens. It is basically a flat line status quo from the 23-24 fiscal year. It involves or includes contractual salary and step pay increases. There are some seniority step raises of officers now that are entering their 5th year of service to our citizens. We currently have 1 part-time officer, optimally 3 would be best, but it's incredibly difficult, especially at the part-time level, to have certified officers on staff for a department our size. I am working with the Chief Sanderson, and we're going to complete and now analyzing impact, and I think it's probable that we'll approach the council in January to potentially move to adding a full-time position when we are looking at the investment of overtime to backfill officers, as well as it just seems more practical, but we're going to conduct a thorough analysis in 6 months from now, come to the council if in fact we're also looking at the trends of hiring staff and that. So it'll be the chief and 5 full-time officers. The school will be going in 50% for the school resource officers, so we'll continue that. It's 24/7 police service and protection for our citizens and visitors. We believe that it's the only non-public safety police department to have all of our officers medical trained to first responder level, so we can respond in the village to serve the citizens for Med 1 and 2 calls. We'll continue to be a police department that is focused with a mission of service, continuing neighborhood canvassing, continuing business and residential checks, customer service follow-ups, vacation checks. Again, the chief will find ways to interact with youth of Vicksburg throughout the summer months and have a visual presence at school drop-off and pickups. Staffing for all special events within the village and school. This budget includes moving. We have reserve officers that work events. You've probably seen them at Berg Days and Christmas in the Berg and other events. We are recommending to the council and have included in this budget and for the events to actually have those reserve officers receive compensation. And we set that compensation at $15 an hour. It's not an unfunded type liability because we know how many events we have. We know the dedicated hours we'd have a reserve officer at the event. So those reserve officers also volunteer their time to ride along on normal shifts. That would be a continued volunteer situation, but we think on how we're relying on them to work the events, that the appropriate thing to do would be to compensate them. So I do want to have the council aware of that. And the council already pre-approved the capital items of the stationary radar signs that'll go up after July, or in the month of July in the village, and then the camera system that will be with all the officers' body cameras and updated in the patrol cars. But be happy to pause right here and answer any questions.
We entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Any questions of staff? I think it's pretty reasonable to only have a 0.003% increase over our last full year budget, so that's good news. And I've got to give a lot of compliments. We had Officer Angler in here tonight, Chief Sanderson. I know you guys, you know, you're not there policing, you're engaging with the community. I see it every Wednesday night in all these events we have. You guys, the kids are coming up to you and talking with you, and you're hanging out with them, and you're more of a friendly presence than an ominous, force. So thank you all for that.
You have to say, who won the cornhole match?
I think we were ahead. I could call them, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He was losing.
That was my wife and I went to the Berg Days, and we're walking in with our son, and we see the officers at the cornhole boards, and I was like, this is what Vicksburg's about.
Yeah.
You're just hanging out, playing with everyone, and it's a great time. I love to see it.
So we have a motion and support. We'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Reister?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
President Frisbee, yes. Passes. We move on to Parks and Rec.
Just looking at my notes to see where it ended on this. You can if you want.
Do you need a sheet?
Yeah, somehow my sheet has missed the, well, Wendy, does your sheet have the, let's, because there's some excellent stuff in the, oh, here we go. Here we go. Not that DPW is less or more important than parks, but somehow they got sandwiched in between. So there we go. I knew it was on the sheet prepping an hour ago. All right. As the packet contained for this, I think it's important to highlight for Parks and Rec. Again, we're kind of really, as a staff, committed to the next level beautification of the village, and made, with the support of this council, some of those investments already in part-time employees dedicated to specific, the striping throughout the village, the enhanced street sweeping that is going on, and we really want to focus on Parks and Rec in the agenda, or that we'll have within. I do cite the 2014 Parks and Rec plan that goes through. I think when so you have the historic investments that have been maintained with the specific corresponding documentation within that plan that had public input. The one item that we are proposing within the Parks and Rec budget is to update the Parks and Rec plan. The last update was 2014. Those plans are typically looked at in year 6. We about for 5 years in a row have used the data within that plan to accomplish what we've accomplished. But we think it is so within the Parks and Rec budget is $12,500 for an updated Parks and Rec plan. We would go out to a competitive bid process, and much like we did at the master plan level, have outside resources committed to ensuring that, one, we follow our new public participation policy and get as much input as we can as we move forward. So that is an investment. We are overall looking at another $37,500 in different aspects of maintenance and continued work at the historic village, and those are listed out. Another something new, we think it will be a service not only to residents of Vicksburg, but a potential draw into Vicksburg, is it'll end up being a 3-year contract with a company, but to have a kayak rental station out at Sunset Lake Beach. That's about $8,500 per year. There is a cost to the individual user, so there would be some revenue, but we're truly looking at the investment being $8,500, and data will demonstrate what type of revenue offsets that. That'll come in the form of amendments. We, in the talks with the company, though, one option we certainly have is, much like the state of Michigan does a free fishing day, to look at setting it up that whether it's a weekend early in the season to one, help get word out that the kayak station would be there, but that is something new again that we want have put in the budget and put in front of the council. Clark Park, again, two different areas there. Basically, looking at a substantial investment of preeminent flowers, trying to within the next couple, if you will, senior pitcher type seasons to have that be just a place and destination for people to be and hang out. And we'll continue with dog waste stations. But be happy to answer any questions.
Are we looking for a motion to approve?
Yes.
So move.
Support.
Any discussions or questions of staff? Hearing none, then I'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
I keep going in alphabetical. Trustee Reeser?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
And President Frisbee, yes. How we move on to DPW budget.
DPW. We are looking at an investment of $575,775. I will explain this, but I always like to reflect on the previous fiscal year. It is a 24.1% increase. However, it's largely due to the CIP, or the capital investments, of a new leaf truck and then updating the most recent plow truck that we bought from the city of Kalamazoo. Those are previously approved council items under CIP but when you're adding $120,000 on those two items, that is what results in a 24% increase. Though I will say, that the CIP purchases are money that has been saved up. So our tax revenues are going to increase a little bit. So when we talk in terms of this increase, the increase is not impacted on the 24-25 revenue due to the fact we've saved the money for these purchases. And we've placed, as it documents there, the $120,000 is on a carryover position. So we are not, I meant to put part-time staff member, which was already approved. They started a couple months ago. We've received numerous positive comments, both for both of them and their investment. So I also thought it's interesting the growth of our municipality. The village of Vicksburg had the highest percentage growth from 2022 to 2023 of the 24 cities, villages, and townships in Kalamazoo County. I also documented the growth that we've had since 2018, but it's people are not only coming and visiting Vicksburg, but there's a desire to live in our community as well. We did add that 5th position in DPW. I will appreciate Jimmy Myers being here as the leader of that crew. I just can't say enough good things about what's going on. Again, I have the breakdown of the employee compensation is 50% general fund, 25% water and sewer, with highlighting the 5 full-time employees, continued maintenance of the infrastructure projects, capital investments, 2 seasonal part-time employees that are focused on the beautification of Vicksburg. We full-service water and sewer, 8 parks, winter and summer maintenance of roadways. There are, and we've been adding the last couple years. The DPW crew is very talented in the maintenance that they can perform on the vehicles. With their own skill set, they do, but we felt it was important to make sure that they would be able to do that with village tools that were purchased instead of they were bringing them in from home. So be happy to answer any questions on DPW.
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
We got questions for Jim? And
Just brief comments. Jim, I wanted to say that I particularly, in this narrative, liked the census comparison in our growth as far as the county and the state. I think it's really reflective of what's needed in the staff and in the budget there, and about how we're still going to have some room to move on that to make a bigger impact too, I think. So thank you for including that in there.
Any other comments, questions? You know, we talk about an increase, but, you know, it's kind of justifies with the number of new residents we have in here and the amount of extra hours we place on DPW with the bird days and all the events we have planned. That takes a big toll on them, so I'm surprised it's just 24%. But,
I I'd just like to expand on that. The level of excellence that we expect for the village and expect to deliver to our constituents, I think that's exactly why that happened. Because we have very high standards, and so does Manager Mallory and Jimmy and his team.
Yep, absolutely. And to watch those guys hustle and clean it up, the best thing we did, well, one of the good things we did was those new utility carts. You know, those guys can just drive right up on the sidewalks and dump all the trash and the recycle bins, and that's great. So, and they always are running. I mean, they're running all night long, so. Well, we have a motion in support. We'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Reeser?
Yes.
Trustee Olson?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
And President Frisbee, yes. Motion carries. We have the Downtown Development Authority.
Yes, it has been presented at the last Planning Commission Downtown Development Authority Board meeting. It did receive unanimous support and approval from that group to move forward to the council. Highlights with this 24-25 proposed budget. Again, we've listed out in your packet some historical items, but I think it's what to point out is just in dollars, the Downtown Development Authority tax capture is a defined area. It's a commitment that's decades long. Has state legislator oversight that basically the dollars that we capture in that area, we reinvest into that geographical area. But we talked about this for the council members that go back to 2017 and 18. If we made this investment in one way, revenue increase would be the assessed value and the assessed value of our downtown and investments into buildings. And we've started with painting and facade grants at a lower level, and now have done into our second year, and we're proposing to continue a public benefit grant with grants up to 15,000, couple at 7,500 and that. But back in 2019, 2020, our revenue capture was just basically $53,000. A short 4 years later, it is $92,441, a pretty substantial increase over that time period, and we believe it will continue to grow as we continue to make investments into our downtown. So I've shared that information. Again, we're proposing to continue the grant opportunities, but like Parks and Recreation, the DDA plan goes back to 2014. And when you read that document and compare it to what we've accomplished in the last 10 years, it's our recommendation that document gets updated as well. We've budgeted, I believe, $20,000 to have that plan updated and is needed. It's under the 248, it's page 3, when we get into beyond revenue, the specific administrative services you can that is there for the DDA plan. So the economic development included in this, but we're anticipating total revenue of $164,500 because we're carrying forward some money with expenses being $151,000. I will highlight that we're anticipating entering January 2025 to identify $125,000 of DDA funds to assign to the parking lot in back of the hardware as it's our goal, that's really come back as the number one item in all the surveys and input, to be able to pull that off in the 26, 27 fiscal year, hopefully. But those are the highlights of the document in front of you. All the events it's our recommendation to continue with the investment in Bird Days. 2025, we have secured a grant. We will be going back out in September. We've received favorable input from sponsors to do, much like we did this last year, have just an event sponsors for the whole season of events versus individually, and working a budget from there. So it's, I think, work better internally as well, but better off answering questions of what might be on the minds.
All right, well, we have a request to approve the DDA authority, the 248 budget.
So moved.
Support.
Any questions of specifics of Mr. Mallory? I really like the direction of the DDA, what they've done, some of the additions you've had from the infrastructure and getting it beyond just the facade and just a facelift. Anything that promotes the public benefit is a good thing. So I encourage you all to keep up the good work. So we have a motion and support. So roll call. Trustee Fields.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Reeser.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
And President Frisbee, yes. That moves us to the Brownfield.
Yes, and we did, this was unanimously supported by the Brownfield Board, to be put in front of the Village Council. And as you can see, there are amendments in the current fiscal year, but the proposed budget for 24-25, with an estimated revenue of $35,000 and expenses around $7,500, is specific. Our recommendation is a motion and support roll call vote to approve the proposed 24-25 fiscal year. If we do the budget amendment, which the council has to approve as well, we would do that budget amendment of $5,066, and then the approval of the transfer of $4,000 Vicksburg Administrative Services.
So we'll take the budget amendment up first. We have support.
Support.
Roll call. Trustee Fields. Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Reeser.
Yes.
Trustee Olson.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Frisbee, yes. 314.
Yep. Next. Sure. Is there a motion?
Do I need a motion to support?
Moved.
Support.
We'll do a roll call. Trustee Fields.
Yes.
Trustee
Yes.
Reeser.
Yes.
Yes.
President Pro Tem. And President Frisbee. The authority an hour ago. So this is the Mr. Manager's report. Mr. Manager.
We approved the $4,000 transfer. Was
Yeah, that was first. That was our first.
No,
Budget
this was
amendment.
the budget amendment.
And that-
Was this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The report basically is next Monday will be a busy night. We have a work session at 6 p.m. The 24-25 sections of that work session will be major streets, local streets, and Angels Crossing golf courses, our enterprise funds for the village of Vicksburg. We'll also have sewer and water and employee compensation within that hour at the work session. Our publicly noticed budget resolution is for June 24 at 7 o'clock, so we will, within our regular scheduled meeting, be going into the public hearing, coming out of the public hearing. at 7 o'clock will be the recommended utility rates involved in water and sewer, as well as village council, village president, village manager, departments, and the formal 24-25 fiscal year budget resolution, which will be a 50-page document listing all the numbers. And then we will complete the fourth quarter amendments for 23-24 fiscal year. So it will be a busy night, as it is every year, but just to give a heads up. And if anyone has any questions?
Jim, when are we looking at the possibility of Trillium being paved?
That was already approved, and those contracts were signed. It's at the month of July.
Yeah.
But they haven't set a date.
They haven't
The
set
road
a date.
commission, but they did. I did talk to Ryan at the road commission last Thursday, and he's pretty confident they'll be in there in July. They had to do it after July 1st. So
Right,
another
right,
fiscal year.
okay, yeah. I'm getting questions on it, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions for village manager Mallory?
So the last is a little bit of data on the car show and the initial Berg Days. Car show, interesting enough, we've seen a trend the last 2 years that Friday nights have increased considerably. Actual car show on Saturday had a little bit less attendance than the year prior. Factor that in potentially due to the weather and that. First Berg Days had 2,200 more than the initial Berg Days last year, and interesting where it placed. So it's unfortunate, but we definitely think it's the right call. This Wednesday has been postponed, if you will. There will not be a Berg Days this Wednesday due to the heat index warnings that are anticipated for Wednesday. The good news is that Berg Days will return on June 26th, and the better news is this postponement will just fill the first. We always build in 2 makeup dates, so August 21st, all the bands, both bands and all the food trucks and everything's committed that was supposed to be here this week are going to be here August 21st, so we look forward to it. I will let the council know that we did purchase 2 large misters, and if they work after July 1st, we'll probably be purchasing more, but we're going to test out 2 of them just to see if they work, to be prepared for this weather in the summer.
Nice. Any questions on his report?
Well, I can tell you that my family that came from North Carolina was their first Berg Days, and they were ecstatic. And the little kids were exhausted when they left, so very good job.
If we're on that subject, I had never seen so many strollers. Of the 9 Berg Days we did, it was unbelievable. The demographic is kind of swinging towards family and in all generations, honestly. But so, all right, we'll jump down to. I don't believe the committee reports we even need to touch on any of them because they're all coming up this week and next week. Am I right? All right. So this opens it up to time for citizens' comments. Thank you. If you, yeah.
Years in the same address, 328 East Prairie. I have call it a mental problem. I've talked with Mr. Mallory, and he's told me that the position of the village attorney is they cannot take care of the trees between the sidewalk and the curb. That being said, I don't ever recall being notified that they belong to me. Otherwise, I would have budgeted, the wife and me, we're on a fixed income, I'm sorry, but I wasn't the person that invested all them years that I worked. But I would have taken and had those trees removed before this happened a week ago last Friday. 2 to 3 feet, I wouldn't be here. I had a great big limb come down when I was sweeping bark off the sidewalk so the people going to the old car show wouldn't have to walk on them. I heard a crack and I took off. I didn't have time. I didn't think I had time. I took off, and when the limbs was taking me down, I dove for my driveway. As I was fortunate, God looked out for me. I came up with cuts on the arm, on the temple, on the hand, fingers, but I'm here. And the responders came, and Officer Sanderson came, and then the village came right after that with a great big bucket loader and moved the great big limb out of my driveway, off my lawn, out of the driveway. Monday morning, they came and cut it up. Now, I'm just a citizen. I've paid taxes here, and I've supported this village, and I've bragged about this village. I love this village. I love the school system. I love what you guys have done on the advancement of the downtown area and the community. I'm really, really proud of that. I'm disappointed because here I sit after this, the great big bucket truck come and move the limb and everything. I'm saying, okay, and Monday morning they cut it up. That's telling me the village is going to take care of the tree. I'm sorry, they aren't. It's my responsibility, according to the attorney for the village. I'm really disappointed that I've never been notified of that. Otherwise, it would have been done. When we had the street redone in front of our house and everything, I was really pleased with that. I was never notified that I had to sign a form to have them replace my lead water pipe until I called Mr. Mallory. Somebody told me, one of my neighbors or whatever, whoever I was talking to, said, "Did you sign that form?" I said, "What form?" Okay, there again, lack of communications from the community to the residents of the village. Okay, I'm not faulting anybody particular. I'm just saying something's wrong with the system that we aren't getting notified of these changes or this is happening. Okay, to whereas if I would have known that, I wouldn't have had to call Mr. Mallory and he had the works department come right over and I signed the form. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have to go to Mr. Mallory or any one of you on the board for that. I should have been informed as a citizen, as a taxpayer. You know, I'm 82. I can't do what I used to do. 30 years ago, I would have outrun the tree, but that's not possible anymore. But Mr. Mallory has told me, so I'm going to work on that. I got to communicate with my wife when I get home. That probably won't go real well. But I'm going to handle that, and I appreciate being able to talk to you, let you know that I'm disappointed of not ever being notified that now I own those trees, those 2 trees out in front of my house that are 150 years old, you know, and I'm sure there's other residents in the village. Whether they know it or not, I don't know. I've never talked to them. You know, the ones I know now, they're dead. You know, I'm sorry, but that happens, you know, and everything. But I want to thank you for your time and for listening to me. And I hope some way along the line we can get some improvement on communication. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Crobble.
Thank you for coming.
And we thank you that you are quick enough. I'm thankful that you didn't get hurt.
I'm thankful. Oh, I got hurt, but I mean, I'm thankful. I think it was my boy in heaven. He died a couple years ago, and I, you know, just had so many people looking out for me this summer because it was really, really close.
Yeah,
The wife didn't even know it happened.
it's probably better.
And she heard a moan, and I came in and I said, "While I'm leaving,
Yeah, no, thank you for coming. Thank you. We'll take it to trustees' time. Trustee Fields.
Just real quick, on the note of the officers, I had friends that were in on Friday night of the car show. They spoke incredibly highly of the engagement that they experienced with all of the officers being in town, how relaxed everything felt, and they also commented, they've come in on Friday nights before, they thought it was a much bigger crowd on Friday night, and it was really a lot of fun. But a couple of the officers specifically let one of my friends in and helped him get parked without knowing that he is in a wheelchair. So when he got into a position, it was even better for him because he had that help. And then, like I said, they just said the engagement in general was really nice. So kudos also for DPW. You guys have been just awesome and on the spot with all of the weather that we've had lately. You guys were down my street today, and there was a lot of limbs down. They grabbed them out of the yards. Nice job. That's it.
Trustee Wagner.
Yeah, I wanted to share some comments I actually had from the meeting last week that I was unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I was not at the meeting. Very fortunately at Bronson welcoming our son Nolan Thomas with my wife. But I wanted to share some comments on the assignment from Tim Wahlberg and his staff for the $3.7 million. So I just wanted to say thank you to Congressman Wahlberg and the staff. It's amazing to have friends like that for the village of Vicksburg, for the size that we are, and the funds that are going to be given from that relationship that Manager Mallory and the team and everyone else has worked to cultivate there to make this happen. It's going to be taking such an undue burden and financial strain off of the village for now and into the future. The mandate that we're under for the next 16, 17 years and having to pay for, go through all of these efforts and the disruptions to everybody's lives, that amount of funding is going to make just an immeasurable difference for everybody in the village of Vicksburg now and into the future. And we all understand the importance of drinking water and how critical it is to have that be safe. It's one of the core needs of life. I mean, we need to do that for everybody regardless. But I just can't say enough to be thankful for that team, for everybody involved in that project, because it is one of the single largest fundings we have ever received in the village of Vicksburg, and that type of partnership goes a long way. So thank you, everybody involved.
Thanks. Trustee Reeser.
Well, I just wanted to thank Jim for all the time that he put in preparing our information for tonight. And as I was reading through it, I just kept getting a smile on my face of looking back at where we started, and he actually gave us background, and it was really exciting to read it and to really look at it and say, we have done all of this. And so I appreciated that background information that you gave us. So thank you.
Trustee Olson.
Okay. First of all, thanks to Scott Sanderson and his crew and the first responders, Chief McMillan, that because of the tragedy down the road here at the railroad tracks the other day, I did go down, stayed out of their way as much as I could, and I felt it was necessary that somebody from the council be present in case there were any questions, and especially from our citizens, a lot of stuff was flying around. My phone started ringing within an hour after the incident, and unfortunately I was out of town, couldn't get back right away, but originally I heard it was down by the Rim and Rail, and of course it was down here by the train station. But I've spoken with Scott, and I sat and talked with Tracy McMillan for quite a while. I was worried about him, but they've seen enough over the years. Last night, the National Weather Service indicated it was not a tornado that hit, but they're not saying straight line winds at this point. They're just saying it was not a tornado. But Gobles and Alamo and Cooper were all put on alert. Air raid sirens did go off in Portage, or tornado sirens went off in Portage. Shows you what era I'm from when you call them yeah. Anyhow, but to tell you how bad it was in Portage, winds were clocked at 76 mile an hour at the airport. 70 mile an hour is an F-0 tornado. So you can imagine the damage that was done. 16 of their intersections were without electricity this morning. So that was 16 intersections where traffic had to struggle through. But when we went to Portage this afternoon, everything was up and running. Speaking of Portage too, the village manager, or the city manager, was on the radio the other day with Ken Lampier on KZO. And one of the things he brought up, which I perked up when I heard it, they talked about the Austin Lake Trail extension. And they're going to be working on that next year. And in the 2026 budget, they're talking about extending it to the Vicksburg Trail. So, at least we're hearing something back on that. I don't know if they're taking after us or not, but the Gilmore Farms is now have Wednesday night events like what we do, but they have a car parade and car show and food trucks. So I don't think it's going to impact us that much, but I think they're copying us. And lastly, happy anniversary once again to my beautiful wife, Karen, 16 years. And we've been back in the village for just over 15, so thank you, sir.
President Pro Tem Keller.
I just want to say thanks for the staff for everything you've done preparing the budget. DPW, thanks for everything you guys have done. Downtown, public safety, Scott and your crew, thank you for what you guys do. Like I said, my son and his family were back from North Carolina. It was their first time being down here last week, and they just thought it was awesome, so appreciate it.
Yeah, I ran into a couple of people. I try to go out of my way on a Wednesday night, whatever event we have, and talk to people that I don't know and ask them what motivates them. But I met a couple from just almost right on north of Portage, almost into Kalamazoo. But this was their first bird days. They had heard about it last year, and they were so excited they put it on their calendar. And they weren't let down. And I happened to run into another government official with, I believe it was the city of Mendon, and he had gotten on the phone with his village manager and said, "You get your butt up here right now and see what's going on. We're doing this in Mendon too." So, yeah, copycats. If it works, use it. So I just wanted to recognize the Village Depot. Vicksburg Union Depot is officially on the historic National Register of Historic Places, so thanks to all those that had worked so hard to get on that register. It's a great accomplishment. Just tailing on what Trustee Wagner had said about our large grant that we've gotten, and through support of our Congressman Wahlberg, I just wanted to comment too that Senator Gary Peters wrote a very, very supportive letter in that regard to the Fiducial Committee that handles oversight money there. So we've got quite a few people that are in support of that and looking after it. So thank you, Mr. Peters, for your support. And Jim, we've already talked about bird days being canceled. So thanks again for everybody's time here tonight. Did I miss you?
No, but I just thought of something that I should have said. Our girls softball team this year, they were amazing, and unfortunately, they had to go into extra innings, and they did lose by 1 run, but they have had a fabulous season, and I just want to congratulate those girls because they did their very best. So congratulations to our girls softball team.
Thank you for remembering that. That was phenomenal to watch it right down to the overtime or extra innings, and I can imagine the heartbreak, but they can hold their heads proud from what they've accomplished these last couple of years. So with that, barring any other further comments, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion adjourned. Thank you all.